Imagine this scenario for a moment. It's 2022, and a company decides to do its customer service team a massive favor.
Right, the classic tech rollout.
Exactly. They bring in a brand new AI chatbot to handle all the mind-numbing repetitive questions that just flood the phone lines all day long.
This stuff nobody actually wants to deal with.
Right. The password resets, the basic tracking numbers, the operating hours. So the human reps are finally freed from all the boring stuff.
Yeah.
You would think morale would just go through the roof.
You really would think so.
But instead, worker stress absolutely skyrockets, and the quality of the job measurably plummets. Today, we are going to look at exactly why that happened.
And how it completely flips everything we think we know about the future of work.
Because it really is a massive plot twist.
It is. It's a perfect illustration of how our assumptions about artificial intelligence in the workplace are just fundamentally flawed.
Yeah.
Because the prevailing narrative, the one you see on social media and in the headlines every single day, is essentially this countdown to obsolescence.
The doom scrolling.
Exactly. People assume technology automatically improves a business while simultaneously destroying human opportunity.
Yeah.
But the reality on the ground is infinitely more complex.
Which is why today, for you, the listener who wants to cut through all that noise and actually understand what is happening, we are diving into an incredibly detailed, evidence-based paper.
Yes.
It is called The Generative AI Transformation by Dr. Jonathan H. Westover. He has synthesized the major research and empirical data all the way up to March 2025.
It's a very comprehensive look at things.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is to equip you with the actual data on how AI is reshaping the labor market. We are separating the existential dread from the empirical reality.
So you can actually figure out how to future-proof your own career.
Exactly. Because the data reviews that we are not looking at a simple story of machines replacing humans.
No, not at all. What the research actually shows is a fundamental restructuring of human potential. It's a massive shift in how organizations allocate cognitive energy.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to really grasp this, we have to look at the numbers. And Dr. Westover highlights a pretty staggering study by Srinivasan and his colleagues.
Staggering is the right word. They analyzed nearly the entire universe of U.S. job postings from 2019 all the way through March 2025.
And the methodology here is wild, right? They didn't just read a few thousand job descriptions.
Right. They actually used ChatGPT itself to categorize over 19,000 distinct job tasks.
19,000.
Across more than 900 different occupations. They essentially built an AI to measure the impact of AI.
Wow.
And before November 2022, the job market tracked normally. Standard cyclical variations.
It's just the usual ups and downs.
Exactly. But post-ChatGPT, we see an undeniable divergence. Job postings for what they call automation-vulnerable roles decreased by 13%.
Okay.
Meanwhile, demand for augmentation-prone positions actually shot up by 20%.
Wait, so that is a 33-point gap in just a matter of a few years?
It is huge.
It completely changes the picture of the labor market. It's like the labor market isn't a shrinking pie, but a pie that's being entirely remixed. The crust is shrinking, but the filling is exploding.
I really like that analogy. The work isn't disappearing. The economic value is simply migrating to completely different tasks.
Right.
What's fascinating here is exactly where this divergence is happening right now.
Because it's not where you'd expect, is it?
Not at all. Historically, when we talked about automation, we pictured, robotic arms replacing discrete manual tasks on a factory floor.
Yeah, car manufacturing, that sort of thing.
Right. But this time, the hardest hit sectors aren't manufacturing or agriculture. They are finance and tech.
Which is just incredibly ironic. I mean, finance and tech are the exact industries that built and funded the generative AI boom to begin with.
The irony is definitely unavoidable. But, the economics make perfect sense when you look at it.
How so?
Well, the industries that birthed generative AI have the absolute highest concentrations of data-intensive, highly structured work.
Okay.
Think about coding or building financial models. These are essentially languages with strict syntax and predictable rules, which is exactly what large language models are designed to process.
They just eat that stuff up.
Exactly.
No.
Add to that the fact that these knowledge workers are highly compensated. A tech firm has a massive financial incentive to automate a task currently done by a developer making $200,000 a year.
Oh, totally, which really explains the geographic data in the paper, too.
Yes.
Because if I'm looking at a map of the United States, this isn't hollowing out the industrial heartland the way the loss of manufacturing did in the 1980s.
No, the effects are heavily concentrated in metropolitan hubs. Yeah. Places like San Francisco, New York, and Boston.
The big financial and tech centers.
Exactly. Regions with industrial economies or service sectors that emphasize hands-on physical work, like healthcare or hospitality, are seeing much more muted impacts from generative AI specifically.
Okay, so if finance is getting hit so hard, what makes one financial analyst totally safe while a data entry clerk sitting in the exact same building becomes obsolete?
That is the million-dollar question. And to understand that, the source makes a crucial point. We have to stop looking at job titles entirely.
Right.
We have to start looking at the individual tasks a person performs between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Breaking it down piece by piece.
Yes. This is the core of the occupational impact framework.
Okay, break that down for me.
So an automation vulnerable role is one where the vast majority of tasks are highly structured, predictable, and repetitive.
Things AI can just do on its own.
Exactly. If formatting spreadsheets, extracting dates from invoices, or categorizing emails makes up 90% of your day,
Yeah,
your role is highly vulnerable.
that makes sense.
But an augmentation-prone role blends tasks that AI can assist with alongside responsibilities that require distinctly human capabilities.
So, meaning things like judgment under ambiguity, navigating messy human emotions, or creative problem solving.
Precisely. Take a clinical neuropsychologist, for example.
Okay.
They might use AI to rapidly search through decades of medical literature to find a pattern in a patient's symptoms. The AI does the heavy data lifting.
Right. Reading 10,000 papers in 5 seconds.
But the psychologist retains the uniquely human responsibility for delivering that diagnosis to a terrified family.
Wow, yeah. The AI definitely can't do that.
Right. And designing a treatment plan that actually fits into the patient's real life.
Wait, if AI is doing all the heavy lifting, doesn't that just mean companies will use it to squeeze workers harder, leaving them with all the stressful stuff?
Well, let's circle back to that customer service example from the very beginning, because it is the perfect warning label for this entire transition.
The chatbot disaster.
Yes, the research validates your concern entirely. In that real-world example, the company implemented chatbots to handle the simple inquiries.
The password resets.
Right. In theory, management thought they were upgrading the human role. But the reality was that the human reps ended up dealing exclusively with highly complex, emotionally demanding, escalated calls.
Oh, because the people who called in were the ones who were already furious because the chatbot couldn't help them.
Exactly. And because the reps lost the easy tasks that used to give them mental breaks, the simple password resets that let their brains cool down for 3 minutes, their cognitive fatigue went off the charts.
That sounds exhausting.
It was. Their stress levels skyrocketed, and their compensation was never adjusted for this new hyper-intense workload.
Right.
It proves that technology alone does not determine job quality. Organizational implementation determines job quality.
And that shift in cognitive load is actually showing up in the specific skills employers are asking for in job postings now, too.
Yes, very clearly.
The paper points out that in those vulnerable roles, job postings require 7% fewer distinct skills than they used to.
We are seeing aggressive work simplification. AI handles the diverse peripheral tasks that used to be bundled into a single position.
So the employer just demands fewer skills from the human applicant.
Exactly. But in augmented roles, the skill requirements are expanding rapidly. We are seeing entirely new skill categories emerge that frankly didn't even exist 3 years ago.
Like, the paper mentions synthetic data management as one of those new skills.
Yeah.
Let's pause there because that sounds like total science fiction. What does synthetic data management actually look like on a Tuesday afternoon for a normal worker?
Well, imagine you are a data scientist at a major hospital network, and you want to train an AI to detect early signs of a rare disease.
Okay.
You need thousands of patient records to train the model, but you absolutely cannot use real patient data because of strict privacy laws and HIPAA regulations.
Right. You can't just feed my private medical history into some algorithm.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
someone has to generate a synthetic data set. They use advanced algorithms to create thousands of fake patient profiles that perfectly mirror the statistical realities of the actual population.
So they have the same age distributions, the same symptom correlations?
Yes, but none of these people actually exist.
Oh, wow.
And managing, validating, and ensuring the quality of that fake data so the AI learns correctly, that is synthetic data management. It is a highly paid, deeply complex, new career path.
It is wild to think about entire departments dedicated to managing data that isn't even real.
It really is.
But it brings up a huge question. If AI can either make your job a dystopian nightmare of escalated phone calls or turn you into a highly augmented superworker managing synthetic data, it all comes down to who is designing the workflow.
Yes.
How are successful companies actually doing this without just burning their people out?
Well, the source provides incredibly tangible examples of workflow redesign. Take JP Chase, for example.
Yeah.
Their investment banking pitch preparation is a textbook example of sequential human-AI interaction.
Yeah, because historically, the life of a junior analyst at a major bank was notoriously brutal.
Absolutely brutal.
You were talking about 100-hour work weeks, mostly spent at 3 a.m. just building basic presentation materials, moving logos around on PowerPoint slides, formatting endless financial models.
It was a rite of passage, but it was just tedious manual labor.
Right.
But now, with generative AI integrated into their systems, the senior bankers articulate the strategic positioning they want to take. The AI generates the initial financial models and the presentation drafts in seconds.
In seconds.
And then the mid-level analysts step in to refine, fact-check, and customize those outputs.
So the AI acts as this high-speed drafting engine, which allows the humans to focus on accuracy and client strategy.
Exactly. And Unilever is doing something slightly different with parallel interaction.
Oh yeah, the source mentioned this. If a company launches a new shampoo, there might be 100,000 comments on social media about it.
Right.
And you just can't hire enough human researchers to read all of that and categorize the sentiment without losing your mind.
It's impossible.
So the AI processes that massive data set in parallel to identify emerging themes like maybe people love the smell, but they absolutely hate the bottle design.
Right.
Then the human researchers interpret those findings to decide if they need to redesign the packaging.
It's a great example. And we see a similar cognitive offloading at the Mayo Clinic, too.
Oh, with the radiology scans?
Yes. They process an immense volume of radiology scans. AI is used to quickly flag potential abnormalities. It acts almost like a highly advanced spell checker for an X-ray.
But the human doctors are the ones applying the clinical judgment.
Crucially, yeah.
Because the AI might flag a shadow on a lung, but the AI doesn't know the patient sitting in the room.
Exactly.
The human doctor asks, does this person have a history of smoking? Did they recently recover from a severe chest infection? The AI lacks that contextual world knowledge.
It just doesn't have it.
The AI points to a spot. The doctor decides what it means for the human being.
What unites all these examples is that mass displacement wasn't the goal. These organizations fundamentally reconceived their work processes around the optimal allocation of tasks.
Right.
But this brings up the critical issue of reskilling. What actually happens to the people whose tasks were heavily automated?
Well, they aren't just thrown out on the street if the company is smart.
Right.
The research consistently shows that proactive reskilling yields much better outcomes than reactive layoffs. Just look at AT&T.
They're a great case study.
They had network operators whose positions were highly vulnerable to automation as the network essentially learned to manage itself. But instead of mass layoffs, AT&T offered individualized career counseling, paid learning time on the clock, and massive tuition support.
Which is huge.
They aggressively retrained those vulnerable workers for emerging roles in cybersecurity and network analytics.
And the Cleveland Clinic took a very strategic approach to this as well. They realized that simply assuming AI would augment clinical judgment was dangerous if the staff didn't trust or understand the tools.
You can't just force it on them.
Exactly. So they didn't just drop AI software onto the nurses' stations. They systematically trained their clinical staff in AI literacy.
But what does AI literacy actually mean in a hospital setting? Is it just like knowing how to log in?
Well, far from it. It means understanding the system's capabilities, its statistical limitations, and crucially, knowing how to spot when the AI is hallucinating or making a flawed assumption.
Which happens a lot.
It does. They taught their staff how to interpret AI-generated insights and weigh them against their own medical expertise.
So they positioned AI as a capability enhancer rather than some automated oracle.
Exactly. And by doing that, they increased staff adoption and measurably improved diagnostic outcomes.
Which completely shifts the narrative from AI is replacing workers to workers using AI or replacing workers who don't.
It really does.
But, okay, let's look at the flip side of this. You train your staff, you redesign the workflow, but what if the AI just fabricates a terrible financial model or it leaks sensitive data? How are companies putting guardrails on this technology when it's evolving every single week?
This raises an important question, because this is where we run into the unseen structural traps. Even with brilliant workflow ideas, companies can fail spectacularly if their internal rules aren't adapted. The paper talks extensively about the dangers of shadow IT.
Right, shadow IT. That is basically when an employee finds a public AI tool that makes their job easier, and they just secretly start using it without telling the IT department.
Yes.
Like if I decide to paste highly confidential client data into a public chatbot just to summarize a meeting faster, not realizing I just fed proprietary data into a public training model.
It is a massive security, privacy, and compliance nightmare.
I bet.
You also have the black box trap.
What's that?
This is where workflows accept AI outputs blindly, without any visibility into how the AI generated those answers. It makes it impossible for humans to evaluate their reliability.
Oh, that sounds dangerous.
It is. That's why adaptive governance is absolutely essential. The paper highlights Salesforce and IBM as gold standards here.
What are they doing differently?
Well, Salesforce built a dedicated Office of Ethical and Humane Use, and IBM established a cross-functional AI ethics board.
Oh, wow.
These aren't just theoretical discussion groups. They act almost like an FDA for internal software.
That makes sense.
They evaluate high-risk deployments before they are allowed to happen. They mandate rigorous bias detection, fairness monitoring, and transparent output verification requirements.
So they ensure the company understands exactly how a tool works before it touches a customer or a critical internal process.
Exactly. But beyond the technical governance, there is a massive trap hidden in human resources.
Oh,
How do we actually evaluate employee performance in this new environment?
right. If I'm a manager and my employee figures out how to use AI to quintuple their output, like to do the work of 5 people, how do I review them?
It's a huge dilemma.
Do I measure their raw human effort? Do I measure their prompt engineering? Do I pay them more because they are a genius at efficiency? Or do I penalize them because they spent fewer hours at their desk?
Generative AI absolutely shatters traditional performance management. If a company measures activity, things like hours spent logged into a system or lines of code written by a developer, they are actively penalizing the very efficiency that AI provides.
Right.
The entire paradigm has to shift toward outcome-focused management.
And the paper uses Cisco as a fascinating example of this.
Yes. As Cisco integrated AI across their engineering teams, they realized that evaluating engineers on the sheer volume of code they produced was like measuring a pilot by how much jet fuel they burned.
It's totally backwards.
It is. So they stopped counting lines of code. Instead, they evaluated the engineers on system reliability, code quality, and security outcomes.
Basically, did the system stay up? Did it run smoothly? Yes. Great.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if an AI wrote 80% of the boilerplate code to make it happen. The outcome was achieved.
Precisely. And PwC took another brilliant approach. They introduced digital acumen as an explicit formal performance competency.
Digital acumen.
Yes, they evaluate their consultants not just on their client advice, but on their ability to effectively leverage digital tools, including AI, and how well they share those workflow innovations with the rest of their team.
Which sends a clear signal to the entire workforce, right? Continuous learning and AI collaboration are mandatory, highly valued contributions, not just side projects.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? When you strip away all the algorithms and the data sets, it all comes back to company culture.
Always.
You can have the most advanced AI tools on the planet and perfectly mapped workflows, but if your company culture is toxic, the transition is going to fail.
Culture is the ultimate deciding factor. The research points specifically to 2 cultural pillars: psychological safety and a growth mindset.
Right.
Psychological safety is crucial because employees must feel completely safe experimenting with AI, making mistakes, and sharing those failures without fear of punishment.
Because if a culture is highly punitive, workers will hide their errors.
Yes. Or they will hide their shadow IT usage, and the organization as a whole will never learn.
The paper mentions Netflix here, right? Maintaining its famous culture of freedom and responsibility during its AI adoption, essentially trusting employees to exercise good judgment. And the growth mindset is something Satya Nadella heavily championed at Microsoft.
Exactly. Nadella consistently messaged that learning and adapting are far more valuable than static expertise. When employees believe their capabilities can be developed when they have a true growth mindset, they lean into reskilling.
But if the culture views abilities as fixed, employees will view AI as a permanent, terrifying threat.
Which leads to knowledge hoarding, aggressive resistance to change, and deep-seated fear.
It really is a socio-technical transformation. You can't just upgrade the software. You have to upgrade the human systems running it.
You really do.
So for you listening right now, whether you are leading a massive team, prepping for a strategy meeting, or just trying to navigate your own career path in the next 5 years, the takeaway is incredibly clear.
Yes, it is.
Stop viewing generative AI as an existential threat. View it as a powerful augmentation tool. Proactively build your own AI literacy. Focus heavily on developing your uniquely human skills. Judgment under ambiguity, empathy, and complex problem solving. And seek out environments that offer the psychological safety for you to experiment.
And as you reflect on how to apply all of these insights to your own path, I want to leave you with a final, lingering paradox to ponder.
Okay.
It builds on the source material's warning about the disruption of entry-level jobs. We have seen in the data that AI is incredibly excellent at automating the repetitive, foundational tasks that have historically been given to junior workers.
Right, like the junior analyst at JP Morgan grinding out the basic pitch formatting at 3 a.m.
Yep.
Or the junior researchers reading the raw social media data.
Exactly. That automation frees up the human experts to apply high-level judgment. But here is the massive challenge we are now facing. The apprenticeship model of white-collar work is broken.
Broken how?
Well, you don't become a master chef without chopping 1,000 onions. You don't become a brilliant senior lawyer without grinding through years of tedious document review.
Oh, wow. I see where you're going with this.
If generative AI takes over all of the entry-level grunt work today, how will the next generation of workers ever gain the foundational, hands-on experience required to develop that crucial human judgment for tomorrow?
Wow. Yeah, if you skip the repetitive learning, do you ever truly master the craft?
Exactly.
If the machines are doing all the practicing, how does the human ever become the master?
It is the defining talent development challenge of our era.
That is something to really chew on as you look at your own career, and especially as you look at the teams you are building. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep questioning, and keep adapting. We will catch you next time.